Oh, good morning. Welcome back to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes for Tuesday, December 12th. I always have to double check this. I know that it's December 12th, but the day of the week, yes, it is Tuesday, December 12th. It's in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning here in Medan, the capital city of North Sumatra in Indonesia. I got here 2 or 3 days ago. I flew in from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Flew from the KL International Airport to the Kuala Namu International Airport here in Medan. It's a big international airport here in Medan. And then I took the express train from Kuala Namu to downtown Medan, and then walked about a kilometer and a half from the train station to this hotel, which is called the Sederhana, the Wisma Sederhana. Yeah, low budget style hotel. And here I am. I guess this is sort of day 3 or 4 already, something like that. Hardly seems possible, but the day that I came here, I was a bit of a wreck. I still have it, but when I was in Kuala Lumpur, I had quite a bad cold and a fever and a flu, whatever it was. So I wasn't feeling that great on the day that I flew here. So physically, it was very tough. It was a challenging kind of day. It's only a 1-hour flight from KL to Medan. So you'd think, man, breezy, easy day. 1-hour flight, go up, you're down, you're there. But of course, that little story there doesn't take into account getting to the airport in KL and then getting from the airport in Medan, getting to your hotel, and going through all the formalities of customs and immigration and boarding gates and all the delays, all the wait time. So it ends up, whether it's a 1-hour flight or a 4-hour flight, I think it might end up being the same level of fatigue. So like a 1-hour flight is it's a tiring thing to go through. It really is. And then my very first day, I went out for a walk here, and what I wanted to do on that day was a very simple thing. I just wanted to get a debit card, like one of these local e-money cards, they call them, because when I tried to get my train ticket at the airport, I couldn't buy one because they don't accept cash. You have to have some sort of a cashless payment system. And the guy at the airport told me about a card called Flash, something like that. And he showed me his, and he used his Flash card to buy my train ticket for me, and then I could reimburse him in cash. If he hadn't stepped up to help me, I'd still be at the airport. I'd still be stuck there because I had no way to pay for the train. And now it's just so weird, it feels so weird to me that I was flying to Indonesia, and I still can't help but have this image of Indonesia as an agrarian country, and yet it has joined the modern digital age with gusto. So everything is online, everything is modern, everything is run by the internet, run by apps, run by digital online systems. You get your visa online, do your customs online, you're downloading apps, you're getting SIM cards, you're getting on and on and on. Everything is digital now. And it's just kind of funny that I land at the airport in Indonesia and I'm unable to get a train ticket because I am technologically primitive compared to Indonesia. I am behind the curve compared to Indonesians when it comes to technology. Even here, there's a little street just outside my guest house, and I was going to grab a couple of buns. I didn't eat very much that first day, and I wanted to grab a snack when I came back to my hotel. Yeah, I was looking for the Flash card. That's where this story started. So I was walking all around the city going to Indomarets because I was told you could buy one of these Flash cards, a digital payment card, at Indomaret. And I walked all over the city, and I never found one. Nobody actually sells them anymore. So I think even those are outmoded now. But anyway, I couldn't buy one. And then when I came back to this alleyway where my hotel is located, I saw this little stall in the alley where they're selling like dumplings, little buns. And I thought, oh, I'll grab a couple of those. And even that turned into a big event when, again, in my head, I thought it was a very simple one. I was going to just grab a couple of local buns and have a snack with my cup of coffee. But it turns out that that bun stall, like it's just a little thing on wheels filled with dumplings, filled with buns, whatever you call them, is famous. It's on Google Maps and it's on all the websites as someplace in Medan selling the best dumplings in the city. And everybody knows about this place. So everybody's using Google Maps to locate this place and then navigating to get to this alley. So while I'm there buying my couple of buns, cars are pulling up filled with very well-dressed, wealthy looking people, families showing up as an outing, and they've all got their phones out and they're buying the buns and then they're paying for them with an online e-wallet. And I got used to using an e-wallet in Malaysia because I was there long enough that I eventually got up to speed. But now here I am in Indonesia, and of course they use e-wallets here as well, but they use a different e-wallet. So now I'm on the hunt for setting up an e-wallet because all the local people, I'm there at this place trying to buy a couple of buns for a few coins. Turns out they were super expensive because they were famous. They put them in a big fancy white cake box. And I thought, what in the world have I gotten myself into? And then all these cars kept pulling up, people ordering a bunch of them and then getting out their phones and scanning QR codes and paying with e-wallets, right? So it's like I've landed in a technologically advanced society where I'm the one who has no idea. I'm the primitive creature coming into a more technologically advanced land, and I have to work hard to learn their ways. And it's a little bit like, I don't know, Woody Allen in Sleeper, waking up centuries in the future where, he's from a primitive society where he doesn't know anything about technology, and he wakes up in a world, of modern technology and has to figure out how to survive there. And that's what it's like for me now when I fly to another country in Asia. It's just, it's really flips things over in my head. And so I was talking about that in my other behind the scenes video where the preparations to come here were complicated from a technological point of view because I got an e-visa, which was very hard to get, but I'm very glad I did get it. And then customs declaration online. And then of course booking your hotel online. And then you have to have, debit cards and bank cards that you can get money from ATMs. It's a very, and then I land at the airport and then I need another e-card in order to buy a train ticket and on and on and on. So just the build up to the trip itself was technologically challenging. And then as soon as I get here, a couple of days goes by and all I'm doing is settling in. I have to get an e-wallet. I have to get an e-money card. I have to get a SIM card. And any one of those errands can take up an entire day. So I've been in Indonesia for a few days already, and all I'm doing is adjusting to the local technology. I haven't done anything in the sense, in the traditional sense of a tourist. I haven't gone to see the beautiful mosque that Medan is famous for. I haven't gone out to the amazing restaurant serving whatever local dish they're famous for. I haven't had any of I haven't gone to a waterfall. I haven't gone to any historical sites. I haven't done anything touristy because every day has been filled with just trying to get up to speed with the local technological world. It's really kind of interesting. And it's interesting how these tasks often have a progression to them, because before you can do anything, you'd need a local phone number. That's the key to everything else, because I wanted to get, for example, a e-wallet, sign up for one of the e-wallet systems. So I had to find out what e-wallets are available, how they work, which one is the best one for me as a foreigner, and which ones am I capable of getting, because some of them would be restricted, like foreigners would not be allowed to use one, others a foreigner can use. And one thing I noticed, by the way, is that I have a touch and go e-wallet from Malaysia on my phone. I'm all set up for Malaysia, and I've noticed that touch and go is becoming international for the region. So when I was at the train station trying to buy the train ticket, looking at all the payment options, it occurred to me, it's like, oh, I do have an e-wallet from Malaysia. And there's a QR code on the machine. I can scan the QR code using touch and go. And then it turned out that that half worked. It turns out that you are able to use Malaysia's touch and go e-wallet in Indonesia, but only if you're Malaysian. And my system knows I'm Canadian. And then when I scanned the QR code with touch and go successfully, and it scanned the code, and then I got a big message saying, no, you're, as a foreigner, you're not allowed to use touch and go's international links. You could use it inside Malaysia, but you can't use it outside Malaysia. Malaysians can, but we poor foreigners, we can't. So once again, I'm in a technological lower class compared to the countries that I'm visiting, which again, I find really interesting, right? Yeah, take pity on us foreigners, right? But since my Malaysian e-wallet wouldn't work, that made me even more interested in getting a local e-wallet. I don't know whether it will end up being useful, but I wanted to get one. But in order to sign up for an e-wallet, you have to have an Indonesian phone number. That's the starting point for all these things, because when you sign up for an e-wallet account, you have to input the phone number of your smartphone, and that's how the connection is made. Your entire account is based on that phone number, and if you don't have a local SIM card, you don't have a local phone number. They can't send you the security codes. They can't set up an account until you have a local phone number. So that's the very first thing I needed to do. But the way things work here now, you can't just get a SIM card casually anymore. They've even made that very difficult. So for example, when I landed at the Medan airport, there are no SIM cards. You can't get one at the airport, period. I think there used to be one. There used to be like a SIM card, like Telkomsel used to have a Grapari office at Medan Airport, but it's gone. Maybe it's a victim of the pandemic as well, that all of the SIM card providers just closed their offices, their stores at the airport, and they've just never reopened. But yeah, when you land at the Medan Airport now as a foreign tourist, you can't get a SIM card. There's nothing available at the airport, which is kind of crazy. So I needed to go to a Telkomsel office, and my very first day here was a Sunday, and everything is closed on Sunday. So the entire Sunday, I sat around unable to move forward with my life, because I can't move forward until I get a SIM card, and I couldn't get a SIM card on Sunday. I had to wait until Monday for the offices to open. And then here in Indonesia, they have this new system that I've talked about a great deal, where your phone has to be registered with customs via the IMEI number of your device. And even that, that is incredibly confusing to me. I still don't understand it really, because all of the policies seem to be evolving. So when you see a policy online and read about it, or you see a sign at the airport or somewhere, every sign, every website is giving you contradictory information about how the system works. So like even when I was at the airport, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to them because I had way too much to think about. I wasn't going to worry about IMEI. But there is this idea that when you land at the airport in Indonesia, you have to go through immigration, you have to go through customs, but you also have to register your electronic devices at the airport. You have to register the IMEI with customs. And how you can do that online, I guess. You can do all these different ways of doing it. But there were signs at the airport about this, but none of them made any sense to me. And then there was a sign also that said, yeah, register your IMEI numbers here. And they were talking about not just smartphones. They were saying you have to register the IMEI of all your electronic devices, smartphones, tablets, laptops, everything. And it's like, there's no way I'm going to do that, right? Yeah, going even way back before that, I'm always chuckling about this. At the airport in Malaysia, when you go through the final security checks to get to the departure gate, you have to go through put your luggage through your carry-on luggage through the scanner, the X-ray machine, right? And they have a big signs there that say you have to remove all your electronic devices from your bag. It has a big, that's their policy, and that's what the sign says. And I just ignore it because, you know, I was laughing when I was walking up there with my carry-on bag, maybe 6 kilograms it weighed. And then I go up to the sign, it says, please remove all electronic devices. And my entire 6 kilograms was nothing but electronic devices. My bag was like a electronics store. You know, it had a laptop, tablet, 3 smartphones, 4 cameras. You know, I mean, it was just batteries. I mean, it was just bursting with electronics. And they say they have a big sign, remove all electronics from your bag. And I'm like, well, there's nothing but electronics. You know, I might as well just take the bag and just dump it out on the floor in front of you, and it's just going to be a big mountain of electronics. That's all I have in my bag, right? Anyway, I just put the whole bag on there and sent it through. And yeah, I mean, if they told me, oh, sir, you know, you have to take your electronics out, well, I'll go back and do it, but I'm not going to do it until I'm told, you know, that I must do it. So yeah, there at the Medan Kuala Namu International Airport, they tell me I have to register the IMEI number of all my electronics, and I just ignored that sign as well. But then on those signs, it says that if you are staying in Indonesia for less than 90 days, you don't have to register your IMEI numbers. That's what the sign says. Less than 90 days, there's no need to register IMEI. But if you go to the websites, they tell you something completely different. And when you go to, say, Telkomsel to get a SIM card, you just, you know, you have a brand new smartphone and you want to get a SIM card for it, part of the process, they will get your IMEI number and register your phone with customs. They do it for you, and they must do it by law. Otherwise, you can't get a SIM card without registering the IMEI. You have to do it. Yet all the signs in the airport, they say, if you're here for a short visit, less than 90 days, you don't have to register. Which again also makes no sense at all, because if you're a tourist, the maximum amount of time you can stay is 60 days anyway. The 30-day visa on arrival and then a 30-day extension. So who's staying longer than 90 days? None of it makes any sense at all, is what I'm saying. And it can get very confusing. So the last time, I was in Indonesia a few times this year, and I ran into the problem where I used one phone, SIM card. After 90 days, it was blocked. I could no longer use this phone. So I got my second phone, got a new SIM card. After 90 days, it was blocked because the customs does have a policy that your IMEI registration only lasts for 90 days. And after that, your phone is cut off. So I was running out of phones. But it turns out the system has changed. So yesterday, I went to, this was Monday yesterday, the Telkomsel office opened, and I went to the Telkomsel Grapari office. You really need to go to the Grapari office to do these things. That's their big, fancy, full-service operations. And I went there to get a SIM card, and I still had a SIM card in this phone, and I still had the app, but the phone, the SIM card was still valid. That was fine, but the phone was blocked because my IMEI registration had expired. It had gone over 90 days, and customs had turned off my phone. So the SIM card, good, smartphone, bad. That was the situation. And I just assumed I wouldn't be able to use this phone ever again. So I had my third phone. This is the phone I use for podcasts and bedside alarm clock. That's what I use this phone for. It's my old phone. So I went into Telkomsel and I said to the woman that, well, okay, I have a Telkomsel SIM in this phone, but the phone has been blocked by customs. So either can you fix this phone? If not, then I want to get a new SIM card for this phone. That was my goal. And then the woman, very helpful woman, they're great at Telkomsel. They at a Grapari office, they will speak English. It's a very spacious setting, very well organized. When you go up to the front door, there's a screener there at the entrance. Then he will talk to you in English, like, well, what can we do for you today, sir? And you tell him what you're there to do, get a SIM card, and then he will take a picture of your passport. Of course, you need to bring your passport. He takes a picture of your passport. He takes a picture of you. He opens an account, a customer service account, that's assigned a customer service number, and then you are told what your number is. Mine was G13. And then you go into this spacious office. They have hot and cold water there for you, sofas you can sit on, and a big sign, now serving customer G11, now serving customer, go to desk, whatever. And it's very open. The office has an open plan. It's not like going into like an old school government office where there's just a bank of counters with plexiglass and you got to shout through the little holes. It's completely wide open, very luxurious, very nice. And then eventually G13, go to desk 7. And then I would just wander up there, and it was like a nice elevated desk with kind of an oval kidney shape or something. Lovely young woman sitting there waiting. And then I sit down in this comfortable chair and tell her what I need to do. And she got on the computer. And then as she explained it to me, the policy now is, yes, when you register your IMEI number, you get 90 days. But it's 90 days per visit, which is amazing. So what she needed to do was look at my passport. So she actually has to go over all of my visa stamps, and she can see, okay, you left Indonesia on this date, and then you went to Malaysia. She's confirming all this with me. She's trying to read the tea leaves from my passport, and says, okay, sir, you were here in Indonesia on this date. And I said, yes. And then you flew to Malaysia. Yes, that's right. And how long did you stay in Malaysia, sir? And did you go back to Canada, sir? She's asking me about all my travel history. And then she concluded that I had been outside of Indonesia long enough that I qualified for another 90 days of IMEI registration. So no longer is it 90 days per phone, it's 90 days per phone per visit. And then, so you land in Indonesia, you get 90 days IMEI registration, but then if you leave Indonesia for a long enough amount of time, come back into Indonesia, the clock starts ticking again. And when you go to Telkomsel, then they can give you another 90 days. But it's a very complicated procedure. You can't do it yourself. A tiny hole-in-the-wall SIM card seller, like a mobile phone operator at the side of the road, they can't do it. Like, I remember the first time I came to Sumatra, I got my SIM card from a guy in a van. I was just out walking around the streets of Tanjung Balai late at night. It was dark, and I'm just out exploring the town, and there was a van parked at the side of the road. He popped open the rear of his van, and he set out some SIM cards on a little table or something, and he's got his own little light set up there. And then, I got my SIM card from him. I said, oh, you sell SIM cards? Yes, sir. And boop, boop, boop. And you're all done. That's how it used to be, but not anymore. I mean, you have to go to a modern, high-tech office, and it can take them like an hour to process you. And it involves you have to get your passport, open it to the information page, and hold it beside your face. And they take a picture of you, posing with your passport. I mean, and then, registering the IMEI number with customs and Yeah, it's a very complex procedure, but eventually everything was done, and I walked out of there with a active phone, and I didn't have to get a new SIM card. I could continue to use my old SIM card. Everything was set up. I just had to put credit on my phone and buy a data package, and they did that for me at Telkomsel as well. I could pay them, and they could put the money on my phone, and then I could buy, one of the data packages. So I walked out of there feeling very happy. I was ludicrously happy. It was actually kind of silly. When I left from the Telkomsel office, I had this burst of energy, of confidence, of a feeling like I'm living a life and I'm getting things done. I'm making moves on the planet. All I had done was get a SIM card, which is like the simplest thing in the world to do. This is not an achievement. And yet I felt like I had done something extraordinary. And I had this feeling of optimism. I was in a really good mood. And I noticed that as I was walking down the street, I was swaggering. I was like just walking down the street, like, yeah, I was like, I don't know. I had this feeling, and the way I was moving was different. I was swaggering down the street because I had this burst of optimism and confidence. And all I had done was get a SIM card. And yet, to be honest, I felt like I had just summited K2 or something like that. It was really quite funny. But once I had a SIM card, then I could move on to do other things. I haven't quite done them yet. I ran into roadblocks. I mean, when I was at Telkomsel, I asked the woman for her opinion about e-wallets because I wanted to know which one should I get. I'd been talking to different people. Anytime I found someone who spoke English, I would ask them, say, oh, do you use an e-wallet? Oh, you do. Which one do you use? What do you think is the best one, particularly for a foreigner? Which one should I get? And I was getting all this information. And most people were saying that I should get GoPay. GoPay was the most popular one. And I've got a little chart here of the 10 most popular in Indonesia, and GoPay is number 1. Number 2 is one I hadn't heard of before called Dana. Number 3 is Ovo. Then Shopee Pay. Number 5 is Link Aja. Number 6, Isaku. 7 is Octo Mobile. 8, Doku. 9, Sakuku. And number 10, Jack One Mobile. So those are, according to this article, the 10 most popular. And everyone was telling me that I should get GoPay. But then when I was at Telkomsel, I asked the woman there, and she says, no, don't get GoPay. That one's no good for you. She recommended Link Aja. She said that is the best one to get. You should get Link Aja. So when I came back to my hotel, I had my SIM card, I had my phone number, so I thought, okay, let's go on to the next stage of becoming a technologically advanced human being. And I tried to download and sign up for Link Aja, and it wouldn't let me. I believe it said foreigners were not allowed to use it. It was only for Indonesians, somehow or other. So Link Aja was off the table. And then I think I tried to do GoPay, but something went wrong with GoPay as well. I can't remember what, but I ran into an issue there where I wasn't able to complete the download and setting up an account. And then I decided to try Ovo because a lot of people were recommending Ovo as well. And then yesterday I finally was able to download the Ovo app. And I believe I have it installed now. I think, oh yeah, that's right. I even set up an account. I forgot that I did that because you have to register your phone number, email address. They send you security codes, and you go through this whole process of opening up an account. And I did that. It was complicated and somewhat confusing. And it became even more confusing because Ovo seems to be connected with Grab. And Grab really confuses me because a lot of my problems stem from the fact of changing countries, where every time you go to a new country, you end up with a new phone number, And things like Grab are based on your phone number. And oh yeah, that's what happened when I tried to download Link Aja. It said this is not available in your country. It's an Indonesian app. I'm in Indonesia, but Google always thinks I'm in Canada because my Google account is based geographically in Canada. So when I come to a place like Indonesia, I go to the Google Play Store. Link Aja is not available as a download because it's not available in Canada. And I still haven't been able to solve that problem. I never hear anyone else discuss this, but I run into it all the time where Google thinks I'm in Canada and I'm not allowed to use local services because they're not available in your country. And I'm like, well, I'm not in my country. Keep up with modern times. We have airplanes now. Google, haven't you heard about airplanes? I flew around the world and I'm in another country now. So let me use the services in that country, but I get blocked all the time. Anyway, they told me Link Aja is not available in your country. And trust me, I've tried to change my Google country settings to adjust for this, but you can't do it because it wipes out your entire life. If I dump Canada from my account and say my Google account is now an Indonesian account, trust me, that I looked into that, it would just wipe out my life. So I can't do that. Anyway, Link Aja was off the table. And then Grab is a real problem because I have Grab on one of my phones that I think I was in Myanmar somewhere. I don't know what country I was in. And I needed to use Grab, or I thought I did, so I put Grab on my phone and set it up with my local phone number, so I had Grab there. So I've got a Grab account with this phone number, but I have no idea what that phone number is. It's from ages ago. And I tried to change the phone number to my new Indonesian phone number, but it wouldn't let me do that. And then, I thought, well, can I delete Grab from this phone and now put Grab on my Indonesian phone? And can I do that? And I ran into a barrier there. It wouldn't allow me to do that. So anyway, I'm in the middle of this big problem with OVO and Grab that I haven't quite figured out yet. But I do believe I have OVO up and running. I'll have to check in a minute. So at least I got that far yesterday, but believe it or not, I'm not even done yet, because even though I have OVO on my phone, I have to have money in it, right? So now I have to figure out, okay, how do I put money onto my eWallet or into my eWallet? I'm an old-fashioned dude. I know how to put money in my wallet that is in my pocket. That I understand. My pea-brain can grasp the concept of paper money in a physical wallet, but here now I have to figure out how do I put digital money into my e-wallet. And when you talk to local people, they just say, oh, you just use a bank account. You get a debit and then you transfer. And I have to explain, well, as a tourist, as a foreigner, I can't open a local bank account. So I can't ever get a debit card, anything like that. So the only option for me is to go to a physical store, get a top-up PIN, say, okay, put 500,000 rupiah on my e-wallet. They give me a PIN, and then I reload with the PIN. But I don't know if I can do that yet with OVO. I have to figure that out. So that is going to be one of my tasks for today. So let's see if OVO is still up and running. Oh yeah, I have to use my fingerprint as security. And so far I can't get OVO in English. There's nothing I can do. So again, this is another reason you need two phones at least, because I get all these messages from OVO, but I can't read them. So I turn on Google Translate on this phone and I scan this phone. Okay. No. Sorry about my throat. I still have the remains of this cold. I hate these things. It's telling me there's a new feature at OVO do you want to know more? And I want to click no. I don't want any new features, but there's no way not to say yes. The only option is to click on yes. So I guess I have to say yes, I want to know more. Now I've got another message that I can't get out of. What does this one say? See various transaction promos. Next. Next. All right, I'm finally done. And I haven't turned on any other features or added anything I don't understand. I'm trying to find how to change the language to English, but it isn't possible so far. I might have to look for another eWallet because I really want all the information to be in English. It's hard enough to figure out in any language. But yeah, if I go into my profile, into all my settings, all the menu systems, everything is in Indonesian, and I can't change the language, which is too bad. But OVO is there, and it tells me OVO is part of Grab, and yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with Grab. So I'm going to do that today. I'm going to try and find someplace where I can put money into my eWallet, and then I can now use eWallet, or I can wander around Medan and try to use eWallet from time to time, which would be nice to do. Yeah, get that figured out, and I can become modern and technological. And when I went to the Telkomsel Grapari office, I decided to record that experience on video. I wasn't sure if I'd make a YouTube video about it or not, but I thought it would be fun to do. And I was thinking I would turn the video into sort of an investigation into whether Becak, you know, the motorcycle taxi, the three-wheeled sort of gizmo, or four wheels. How many wheels does a Becak have technically? Maybe four. Wondering just how popular they are now. I mean, have they been wiped out because of online, like Grab and Gojek, things like that? Because it's so convenient to be able to just call up a motorcycle on your phone and they pick you up, and you know how much to pay in advance. You know, the fare is set by the app and there's no confusion about it, and it uses Google Maps for directions. It's, you know, most people use that now, and I'm wondering whether there's space in the market anymore for Becak. So my idea was to use a Becak to go to Telkomsel and then shoot a little bit of video about that. Before I went, I checked on Grab because I wanted to see also, does it make sense economically? Like, what is more expensive? Is it cheaper to use one over the other? And I checked on Grab, and a normal level motorcycle to go to this office would have been 12,000 rupiah. And that's about 75 cents US. So I had that number in my head. And then when I went out, what I wanted to do was find a Becak. And I did very quickly, as it turned out, which was kind of nice. I was worried it would turn into a big problem to even find one. I'd have to go waiting and walking around. But I went down the alley where my hotel is located, and right when I got to the corner of the main street, a Becak just happened to be turning the corner. And I made eye contact with the guy and did something with my hands to say, hey, flag him down. And he said he could take me there for 20,000 rupiah. 20, as he said, 20,000. And 20,000, how much is that? Oops, $1.30 US, as opposed to 75 cents US. And it kind of makes sense because with a Becak, it is actually bigger. I mean, the main advantage to a Becak, and why most people would still use it, is that you could ride it to the market, do all your shopping, and if you have like huge bags of goods to bring home, or two people or something like that, you know, you can pile all of that into the Becak, which, you know, because you have a bench seat, basically. You're sitting inside this thing, you know, with a bench and a roof. So even if it's raining, you're not getting wet, you have that advantage, and there's more space. So yeah, you can carry more. So you pay a little bit more for the Becak for that reason. But anyway, yeah, he said 20,000, and I said that was fine, and I hopped in, and away we went. It's always fun riding in a Becak. I often walk wherever I go because I don't like the hassle of negotiating a price and the language barrier. So like even this Telkomsel office was like, I don't know, 2 kilometers away at most, maybe 1.5 kilometers. It's not that far away. So normally I would just walk there, but I did walk past the office on my first day, and just because of the traffic, it was very, very difficult, exhausting, and mentally you just about lost it because of the level of traffic. Like if you have to get across any kind of an intersection, it is a major event in your life. And the honking and the noise and the chaos, it's a lot to deal with. So even, and if you're going to go run some errands, like go to Telkomsel to do a SIM card thing, you really don't want to be showing up there already exhausted, stressed out, sweating, you know, dirty, whatever. So I thought, okay, you know, take a Becak and I can get there in some comfort. And it was a fun ride. I love those things because of the fact that, I mean, it is a motorcycle, but because it has a sidecar, it sits on the ground like a car. What I mean is it doesn't fall over. You know, like a normal motorcycle, you have to keep momentum and then, you know, to stay upright. And if you're turning, you have to turn in such a way that you're maintaining, you know, all the forces of physics that keep the thing upright. But once it's sitting on the ground like a car, I mean, it can spin in place, right? You can just take the handlebars of the motorcycle and just turn it like 90 degrees, and then we just go around in a circle like doing donuts. You can turn in really, really tight spaces is what I'm saying. And that I always find that kind of funny, because he turned down the alleyway and was heading in the wrong direction. And then as soon as I got in, I thought, oh, now he has all the hassle of doing a U-turn or 3-point turn, trying to go back in the other direction. But nah, he just goes, zoom, and we spin in a circle and just go right off into traffic. So that was a lot of fun. But when it comes to, I took video of this experience, and my idea was to shoot it with my 360 camera. And the reason I did that, this is my 360 camera. It's the Insta360 X3. And an advantage to using this camera for vlogging is that if you anticipate interacting with other people, with this camera, you don't have to aim it at them. Like if I have a GoPro, so this is my normal rig, then if I'm walking around like this, talking into the GoPro, and now I'm talking to the Becak driver, I have to I have to aim the camera at him if I want him on video. Like I'm talking to him and I'm pointing this camera at him. Or if I want both of us, then I have to sort of hold the GoPro out here, looking very weird, and then try to get both of us in frame. So you always have this idea of pointing the camera at somebody, but with the 360 camera, it's filming everything, so you basically just hold it out somewhere, and I don't have to pay attention to the camera. So I'm just holding it, and I know it's filming me and him and everything around me in a circle. So I don't have to like aim the camera at this poor guy. A lot of times people don't even know that this is a camera. They're puzzled by what it is. I can see people are sort of confused, like, what is that thing? Because it does not look like a camera, and I'm not aiming it, you know, at anyone. But if I want to have a natural interaction with another person and get it on video, this camera can sometimes be a very useful tool for that, because I just hold it there as I walk around, and whatever happens is being recorded. So yeah, when I got on the Becak, it was a little bit confusing because I hadn't used this camera in a long time, and it starts to get a little bit complicated because audio. And audio, I still haven't figured out. I don't know how other people do it, because my biggest problem, I still haven't found a solution, is that I use wireless microphones because they're so convenient and they give fairly good audio quality. So this one on my chest, that's a Rode Wireless Go, the first generation, and I have the microphone here and the receiver on my camera, and that's how I would normally record audio. So then I put the Rode receiver on my 360 camera, and then I still have this here. That's how I record audio, and that works beautifully for recording my voice, but it won't record the voice of anyone around me. So if I'm talking to the Becak driver, you'll hear me, but you won't hear what he's saying. And I've never been able to fix that problem. I mean, you can use the built-in mics of your camera, like the GoPro or the 360, and they capture audio from all around, but it's really terrible audio, and now you can't hear anybody. A GoPro picks up nothing but background roar. So if you're out in the middle of the street using this, all you're going to hear is the roar of engines, and you'll barely hear my voice, and you'll barely hear the voices of people around me. And the same thing with the 360 camera. Plus, with the 360 camera, at some point, what I did and what I planned on doing was extending the selfie stick as high as I can get it, and I wanted to put it up above the Becak. So I'm sitting there inside the sidecar, but then I stuck my hand out the window, and then I held the camera high up in the air, you know, as high as I could raise it, and then I moved it in front of the Becak, and then I moved it to the side, because I wanted to get video of us, as if there's like a drone following us. And if you're using the built-in mics, all you're going to get is wind noise, you know, because now you're outside the motorcycle, and the wind is just going to blast everything. So I don't know, how do you get audio? Like, how can you just go out into the city of Medan, go on an errand to get a SIM card, and take video and capture the voice of you and the people you talk to? I mean, how many years have I been doing this? And after all this time, I still don't know how to record audio. You know, there's no solution. I've tried everything I can think of, you know, shotgun mics, but the shotgun mic only records one person at a time, and you have to aim the shotgun mic at that person or at yourself or at them. You know, again, it's just like this. So my solution that I've come up with recently, and it hasn't been successful so far, but my solution is to use the Rode Wireless Go 2, the new generation, because then you get two microphones. So I would have this microphone and a second one, and then what I would do is I would basically become Bob Barker. So I have my camera on one selfie stick, so there's my camera, and then I put the microphone on a second selfie stick. So if it's a conversation, I want to talk to somebody, then I can be like I'm actually interviewing them, and they just go up to the person and say, oh, hi, you know, I'm making a video for YouTube. Do you mind being in my video? And then can I ask you some questions? And then if I'm having this conversation with someone, then I can use this and then kind of do, like you see it all over YouTube now. People are doing it a lot. Most people, they hold it in their hand. You can see people holding the Rode Wireless Go, and then they'll do this. They'll say, oh, hey, yeah, my name is Doug. I'm from Canada. What's your name? And then they hold the microphone out to the other person. And say, oh, that's really interesting. So do you speak English well? How did you learn English? You know, and they interview the person by moving the microphone back and forth from their mouth to their mouth. And that's how they do it. And I wanted to do it with more of a microphone stick. This is also kind of handy because you can get ambient noise. If there's noise somewhere else, you want to, I don't know, get the noise of the air conditioner up above me. I can raise the microphone and get audio from there, audio from, if someone's cooking something and you want audio of the frying sound, you can like lower the microphone near the fire or the pot that's cooking or something. But anyway, my idea was to use a kind of a microphone like this. And then if I'm talking to the Becak driver, then it's like, oh, so what's your name? And then he would speak into that, and then my voice is being recorded here, his voice is being recorded there, and then I guess it's hard not to do it, like to do this, even though I know I don't need to. You kind of end up doing something like that. It's like, oh, so how long have you been a Becak driver? And then he speaks, and oh, that's really interesting. It's like, oh, have you ever been to Malaysia? And you have this conversation with the guy, and then you just move the microphone back and forth. So that's what I've been planning on doing. It just hasn't really worked out because you're your own cameraman as well, right? So you're holding this and this. If it's only this, then it's okay, because I've noticed there's a lot of these really famous YouTubers that do this interviewing business. Well, they have someone with them. There's somebody else holding the camera. And if you have that, man, everything becomes so much easier, because you only have to worry about one thing. You only have to worry about audio. So then you're talking to the person, you don't have to think about the camera. And then you just do this. Hey, how are you? Oh, what's your name? And then someone is standing over there filming with the camera. But if you're holding the camera like this and you're holding the microphone like this, it's like, oh, for Pete's sake, you start to get really confused. You don't know what you're doing anymore. It just feels really strange to be walking around like this, as you can imagine. But anyway, that's how I went out into the city yesterday. I had this going on, and then, but that's really only the tip of the iceberg, because all of that activity, all of this physical effort, all of this mental attention, what you're doing with the camera, what you're doing with the microphone, what you're saying to the person, what they're saying back to you, all of that requires like 100% of your focus. But that's really not what you're doing. What you're really doing is being a tourist in Indonesia, and I'm going to Telkomsel to get a SIM card. So I've got all that going on. I'm trying to find a Becak, talk to the driver in Indonesian, communicate through the language barrier, find out how much it costs, show him on Google Maps where I want to go, and then follow our route on Google Maps. And of course, I want to look around at the city, take in my surroundings. Oh, interesting buildings. People all around me are saying hello and being friendly. And you also have to worry about security, because now you're on a Becak and I've got my knapsack sort of sitting at my feet, and you've got your smartphone, you've got your cameras, you have to worry about someone on a motorcycle coming by, snatching things. So you've got all of that going on top of taking the video and the audio. And it was really just overwhelming. So even though I got into the Becak with the camera and the microphone, I ended up completely ignoring the microphone because I couldn't handle it. I could not figure out what to do. The Becak driver was very friendly and he was talking to me a lot, but there was no way I could do this at the same time as everything else I was doing. And in the end, this thing with the microphone on it, it was just sitting in my lap because I just had to put it down. There was no way I could keep track of it. It was all I could do to keep track of my camera. And even then, I couldn't even keep track of my camera properly because there was one section of the road is quite interesting. It's a historic district. And I got very excited about recording the video of the street scene, so I got my camera and I put it out the window, and I didn't, I don't want to stick it out the window and hit somebody in the head. like a motorcycle driver going by. So I got to get it out really carefully and stick my arm out the window and raise the camera up high, and I'm taking video, and I'm all excited about this amazing shot that I'm getting of the streets of Medan. And I had it out there for a long time, and I was so excited. And then I brought in the camera very carefully. I forgot to hit record. I didn't even remember to hit record on the camera because there was so much going on. A lot of that has to do with muscle memory, where like with the GoPro, I usually don't make mistakes because I've used this camera so much. My body does things on autopilot, hitting the record button, stopping recording. I don't even remember doing those things, but I just do them. But I haven't been using this camera very much recently, so the whole button pushing, tally lights, the beeping sounds, the feedback it gives you, it's not second nature right now. So I ended up thinking I'd recorded this nice sequence, and I just forgot to hit the record button. So that was kind of interesting. But we'll see what I end up doing with the video. But one thing I've been thinking about a lot on this trip is that every time I've shot YouTube video in the past, I make a lot of mistakes, but I think the biggest mistake I make is that I take video of so many unimportant things. Because right from the very beginning of YouTube, my YouTube life, my idea and what I was interested in doing was recording day-to-day life. I wanted to record the actual experience of traveling around another country. So I don't know if that makes any sense. What I mean is, instead of making a video about a tourist attraction and only that tourist attraction, I wanted to make a video about the entire experience. So for example, coming to Sumatra, what I wanted to do was record video of going to the airport in Malaysia, going through the airport, checking in your bags, going to the departure gate, getting on the plane, shooting the flight, landing, getting from the airport to your hotel. I would like to make a video about traveling through the airport. And then the next day I'm going to get a SIM card and make a video about going to get the SIM card, and then make a video about going to get breakfast and then lunch, and then recording the whole experience as it happens, which is good. It's interesting for me, but the problem is you don't have enough time to edit all those videos. And time and time and time again, I found myself, I shot so much video that I now have a backlog, and it's almost impossible to get caught up again. So basically, you cannot record all of daily life on video and hope to keep up with life. You just cannot do it. So like even yesterday, you almost have to make a judgment call. Okay, I'm taking a Becak to go get a SIM card. Is that worthy of a YouTube video? And I had the same experience when I left from the Telkomsel office. I walked back. I didn't take a Becak back. I walked all the way back, and I passed by a historic mansion. I'd actually seen it earlier. There is a place here. It's quite near my neighborhood. Let's see if I can find it very quickly. It's called, I think, the Tong Phi Mansion or something like that. There it is, the Zhong A Phi Mansion. It's a Chinese name, and it's a mansion that was built by a very wealthy Chinese merchant back in the 1800s, and it has been fully restored, and it now is open as a cultural museum. So you can go into the grounds and go through this big mansion and see all the beautiful furnishings from the 1800s. So it's a local attraction, and I'm walking by it, and I thought, oh wow, that looks really interesting. I want to go in there, and I'm going to shoot video of the place. And in the end, I decided not to, because I thought, well, it's one thing to shoot the video, but if I go into this museum and I shoot a video about visiting this museum, that is going to be a 3-day commitment from me. It's going to take the day of shooting the video, and by the time the dust settles, it's going to take 2 days, 2 full days to edit, to upload, complete, and deal with making that video. So now you really have to make a judgment call. I was looking at that mansion, at this, rich house, and I had to decide, okay, is this worth 3 days of work for a YouTube video? And I concluded, no. I've made this mistake so many times. I'm tired of making this mistake. And I thought, no, sure, I can go in here right now and I'm going to enjoy exploring it, and I would enjoy shooting video of it. But then what am I going to do? Sit here in Medan, in this hotel room for 2 days, editing the video of that museum? Is it worth it? And yesterday I decided, no, it's not worth it. That's too much work. It doesn't justify it. So you really have to pick and choose what you make your video about. And again, of course, that makes perfect sense. And that is why you see the videos on YouTube that you do see, because smart YouTubers know that they have to pick a topic that is going to garner attention. So, you see all these YouTube travel videos now, they're all the same. They don't really focus on normal daily life. It's all superlatives. So the video will be, I visited the most dangerous slum in Bogota. And then, well, everybody clicks on that video because they want to see the most dangerous slum of Bogota. And if I have my video beside that video that says, Zhong A Phi Mansion, Historical Museum in Medan, nobody's going to click on that video. Nobody will, because they want to see the most dangerous slum of Bogota. A video like, I spent 72 hours in the coldest city in the world. Oh, everybody's clicking on that video. Doug, I go to, the local historic museum. No, nobody's going to click on that video. And you can work on it, editing that video for 2 days if you like, as a hobby, but nobody's going to watch that video. So do you really want to spend 3 days of your short life making a video about that museum? And yesterday I just went, no, I'm exhausted. I can't do it. I would enjoy it. I think it's a very interesting place, and I'll visit it on my own. I didn't go yesterday because I had other things to do, but I will go there to look at the place because I'm interested in these things. But to spend 2 days working on a video about it, I don't know, maybe not. So I have to look for the most dangerous slum of Medan. It's like, no foreigner ever goes here. The most dangerous neighborhood of Medan. I survived. And, that'll be my video, because those are the only videos that get any attention on YouTube, which is kind of sad, kind of funny, but that's just the way people are. People have they don't have a lot of time either. They want to click on videos that look exciting. So I did not shoot a video at the Heritage House Museum, so I am not editing that video today. In fact, the only video that I shot, I shot 2 videos, I guess. I shot a video about taking the luxury train, the express train, from Kuala Namu Airport to downtown. And I made that choice deliberately, again, because I thought that at least in a video title, there's a subject there that you can talk about, like the luxury express train, airport, the airport train in Medan. What is it, and is it worth it? How much does it cost? And if someone is flying to Sumatra because they want to go to Lake Toba, they're probably passing through Medan City, they're landing at that airport, and maybe people would track down a video that tells them how to take the express train into Medan City. So, but as I was shooting that video, my original idea was to do kind of a nuts and bolts, practical, helpful video, like not a personal experience. I just wanted to show people how to get from the arrival. You know, you arrive at the airport, you go through customs, immigration, you come out of the doors, you're in the arrival section of the airport. Now, how do you get to the train? And then how do you buy a ticket? And how do you get on the train? And just basically break it down from a practical point of view. But of course, that idea lasted about 30 seconds because I can't help but slip into personal mode where I start telling my story about getting the train. And of course, when you're talking about my story on Planet Doug, it usually means that everything goes wrong. So it's kind of funny. I saw a video, just a few minutes of this video the other day. Two young guys, I believe in Jakarta, and maybe flying to Jakarta. As I said, I didn't watch the whole video, so I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. But what caught my eye was the title of the video was something about luxury airport train is amazing. It's like, so everybody's clicking on that video because everybody wants to see the luxury airport train. So, and that section of their video is actually very small, and it shows them inside the train sitting in these big comfortable seats in a nice air-conditioned interior. So the whole point of it is like, look how amazing. We have this express train from the airport. And it's the exact same express train that I took because it's run by Airport Rail Link Services, and there are 3 rail link services right now. One in Jakarta at that airport, Yogyakarta Airport, and the Medan Airport. So these guys, their video about the amazing luxury express airport train is the exact same train system that I was taking in Medan. But when I took the luxury express train, I mean, I could have done the same thing. I could put that in the video title, and then I can jump to me sitting inside the train in my seat, looking out the window and going, oh, this is so amazing. What a comfortable, wonderful, fast train. What a convenient way to get from the airport to Medan. Isn't this amazing? And that was the video I thought I was going to be making. But of course, again, we're talking about Planet Doug. So as soon as I got to the train area, the departure station, what do they call it? The transportation building, I couldn't even buy a ticket. Like, I ran smack into a brick wall. I couldn't even buy a ticket for this train because they would not accept cash. You had to have one of these, digital online eWallet debit card systems. That is the only way you can even buy a ticket. So of course, that became the video. For me, the video was all about how difficult it was to even buy a ticket. I had to wait 2 hours to even get the train because, the train that was there that I could have taken was full. The seats are all sold out. There were no tickets available. I had to wait 2 hours to even get a train. And then I landed at the train station in Medan City, and that was mind-blowing. It was such a rough arrival. Everything is broken. The whole train station is under construction. The area around the train station is quite rough, quite a shock to the system when you just suddenly arrive there. So what am I talking about? I guess I'm saying that there's 2 different stories there. There is a video about, wow, the amazing express train that you can take. That's one video. But then the other video is my personal story of taking that train, which was pretty much kind of disastrous and difficult from beginning to end. And that's the story I'm mainly interested in, the reality of what it's really like to try and do these things overseas. And these 2 guys that took the express train from Yogyakarta or Jakarta, wherever they were, they didn't talk about it. They didn't show buying a ticket. They didn't show finding the train station. They didn't talk about how long they had to wait until the next train. They didn't talk about how when they got on the train, they had no idea even where to go because my train had no car numbers on the outside. So I'm walking up and down the platform. I can't even find, I've got my ticket with my reserved seat, but You know, I'm in car EXE-1, but none of the cars are labeled, so I have no idea where EXE-1 is. There were no staff anywhere. I couldn't ask any questions. So I just had to get on the train and just sort of walk up and down the length of the train trying to find my car. And then I couldn't find it, but when I finally found a car that I thought was my car, well, somebody was sitting in my seat, so I couldn't even sit. You know, everything was problematic and kind of difficult from beginning to end. And that was my personal experience of the train. But yeah. So that's kind of the struggle that is always there for me. The exciting YouTube video about the luxury train, and yet the reality for someone, a foreigner showing up and trying to take that train, is often quite a bit different. And like I was thinking about doing another train trip. There's a very well-known train here called the Sientar Express. And I've actually ridden on the Sientar Express before. And I thought, just for fun, I don't need to go to Sientar, but I thought it would make an interesting video just to ride the train, ride a local train. But I've been looking online, and as far as I can tell, you can't get a ticket. This thing is booked up weeks in advance. And maybe I can find a way to buy a ticket, but I've been looking and I've been putting in dates like weeks ahead of time, and all I get is an error message saying that there are no such trains. There are no seats on any of these trains. I did a bit of research, and it turns out that there used to be 2 trains a day from Medan to Sientar, the Sientar Express. So you had 2 shots at it, but now, for whatever reason, that one train is gone. So now there's only 1 train a day going to Sientar, and it's you know, such high demand that the train is like booked out weeks in advance, and you can't get a ticket. So again, that's real life. That's Planet Doug in a nutshell. And that kind of leads me into my next topic, because after I got my SIM card, and I shot video of the experience of taking the Becak to the Telkomsel, and I shot video. I went to a coffee shop afterwards, got a cup of coffee. I tried to shoot video there, but oh man, it was so hot. I was just drowning in sweat. I was so tired and exhausted and hot. And the whole idea of, wow, look at this lovely coffee shop. As a tourist in Medan, let's go have a beautiful cup of latte at a local coffee shop and show what a wonderful experience it is to be a tourist in Sumatra. And by the time I got into this place and got my coffee and sat down, man, I was exhausted and I was just drenched in sweat. I was so hot, so uncomfortable. And I kind of shot a little bit of video using the 360 camera. Basically says, oh, here I am having a latte. And that's pretty much all I said, because I couldn't do anything else. But then after that, I decided to go on a bit of an errand, and I wanted to buy a kettle. I like to have my own kettle with me to boil water in my hotel room. I can make a cup of coffee. And for a long time, I've had this kettle that I bought in Sumatra. And when I was in Malaysia, to be honest, I was going over my backpack and trying to make it as light as possible, because I do carry a lot of gear. My backpack can get a bit uncomfortable, a bit heavy. So in fact, when I was in Malaysia, I left my kettle behind because I wanted my bag to be lighter. And I thought, I can live without my morning coffee, right? Who needs a kettle? And I can always go out to a restaurant, a coffee shop, and get coffee. But the main reason I left it behind is that the electrical cord had broken and all the wires were exposed. And the wires were exposed in such a way that it can't be fixed. There's no way for me to fix it. So I knew that I could continue to use that kettle and it would kind of work, but I have to be really careful to keep those wires apart, because at some point they're going to touch and they're going to short circuit. The thing is going to catch on fire and explode. So I thought, let's just leave it behind. And in fact, I just dumped my kettle. I got rid of it in Malaysia. And then when I got here, I thought, well, I really, really like to have a cup of coffee in the morning. So let's go out looking for a kettle. And that turned into a big adventure where I was going to all these stores in my neighborhood, kind of in between Telkomsel and my hotel, and they had kettles inside, and I was shopping for a kettle, but it turns out that these were all wholesale stores. They look like normal retail outlets, but when you go in there to buy one of the kettles, it turns out you can't buy one. And that led to a lot of confusion, and I couldn't figure out why nobody wanted to help me buy a kettle. I'm in your store, here are the kettles, maybe I want to buy one, why is nobody letting me buy a kettle? But it turns out that it's because they were wholesale outlets, and you can't go in there as a customer and just buy one kettle. It took me a while to figure that out. But anyway, one of these people finally explained that to me, and this woman wrote down an address for me that turned out to be my street where my hotel is located. She said, that's where you go, and those are retail stores, and you can buy a kettle there. So I walked all the way here. I had to go way down to the end of my street, do a dog leg over the train tracks, and go quite a bit farther. So hot, crazy hot. Traffic was nuts. The noise, the honking, the difficulty of crossing intersections. It was a crazy walk. But then I finally got to this area, and I went into store after store after store, but I couldn't find the kind of kettle I was looking at because they only sold like 2-liter household kettles that you would plug in inside your kitchen or your dining room. And I was explaining to people that, no, I need a small one. I need a travel kettle. And I was looking for a specific type, a very specific brand and type, but nobody could really understand what I was talking about. And they kept insisting, oh, this is so small, this kettle is so small, look, it's so light. They're getting down the box, they're opening the box, they're handing it to me, look, look. And from their point of view, yeah, it is a small kettle for a kitchen, but I'm like, no, I can't put this in my backpack. Look at the thing, it would fill up half my backpack, right? I eventually gave up because it was pretty clear I was not going to be able to find my kettle. But then as I was walking back to my hotel, I passed by one more electronics store. And I thought, I'm here, let's go in and take a look. I went in, and they had all the same kettles, and they all told me, oh, look how small it is, look how light it is. I was like, no, that's way too big for me. But then as I was turning to leave, I looked way up. It was like one of these small shops, jammed with stuff, piled all the way to the ceiling. And I happened to look way up in the corner, in this dark corner, and I spotted something, and I went, that's there. You do have what I'm looking for. That is what I'm talking about. And I had a feeling that these stores had to have what I was looking for because I'd seen them in Sumatra before, but I didn't have the right words to communicate what I was looking for. My language wasn't getting across. But then I saw these boxes up in the top corner, and I was like, there, that is what I'm talking about. I was so happy. And then we got into this really weird thing where they had a bunch of these boxes up there, but they were so far away and so far high up, I couldn't really tell which one I wanted or what models they had, what sizes they had. And basically I needed more information, so I wanted them to get up there because there were like 3 boxes in particular. And I was like, okay, those 3, bring them down. Like bring all 3 of them down so that I can look at them, look at the boxes, see what they are, read all the numbers, the weight, how big they are, find out how much they cost, and make a decision about which one I want, if I want any of them. But I could not get them to do that. So this young woman, very helpful, very friendly young woman, was assisting me, and she called out to another guy, like their stock room guy, who was agile, and he came out with a step ladder, put up the ladder, and he ran up to the top, and he grabbed the one at the very top, handed it down to her, slapped the ladder together, and ran away. And I was like, no, oh, like I want all of them. Like no matter how I tried to explain myself, I couldn't get them to bring down all of them so that I can look at them, because now they gave me one of them, and I'm like, okay, that's good, that's okay, but I need to see the other ones, you know. So she calls out to the guy. He comes out, stepladder, runs out there, grabs the next one, brings it down, slaps, and he's gone again. I'm like, no, no, oh, come on. I want, like, because he brought down the second one. Now I've got two of them I can compare, but I want to compare it to the third one as well. So he comes back out. I finally get all three boxes in front of me on the counter, and they are black. They used to be white, like white boxes, kind of, and they had been up there for so many years with the exhaust fumes from all the cars coming into this shop. They had just been covered in soot, and they were black. So it's like, I don't usually mind getting a little bit dirty. I have a knack for that, you know, painting a room, clean, anything I do, I'm gonna get dirty. It's just what happens to me. So I don't really mind getting my hands dirty and things. But these boxes were so covered in soot. You put your hands on there, you're gonna look like a chimney sweep. So I said to the woman, like, can you get a rag or something? Like, just wipe this stuff off, because I don't wanna touch those boxes. I can't open them until, you know, we get rid of that soot. And then she did clean them, and she got the very first box, which was the smallest one, opened it up, pulled out the kettle, and all it was a handle with a bunch of wires dangling from it. Like, most of the kettle was missing. So the entire bottom of it, like, that had the heating element, the feet, the whole cover, the entire bottom half of the kettle was just gone. So at some point in history, this kettle had been broken, and they removed the whole base and probably used it to repair another kettle, like used it for spare parts. And they just put the remaining bits and pieces inside the box and put the box up there. So that was really funny. She removed all the soot, opened it up, and then she grabbed it by the handle, and it was just like wires dangling from this handle. And it's like, oh, no, I guess we don't actually have that kettle. And then we moved on to the next one, and then the next one. But I was, again, kind of stuck, because even though she lifted the small one, the one I was mainly interested in because it was the smallest and lightest, turns out that they are sized in centimeters. It was 11 centimeters, 13 centimeters, and 15. And I wanted the 11, but the 11 was the one with all the wires dangling. So I was trying to explain to the girl, okay, this is the one I'm interested in, but I can't buy a handle with wires. Like, where is the rest of the kettle? Can you get me one of these kettles? Like, do you have one in the back room or something? I thought she would just instantly, it's like, oh, this one, let me go to the storeroom and get one for you. But I had to really push her to do that. And I found that really confusing. It was like, okay, like, I think it's pretty obvious as a customer what I need you to do here. I'd like to buy one of these kettles, but I can't buy this one because there is no kettle in the box. So how about we go get me one? And eventually, yeah, I managed to get her to understand what I needed. And she was, oh, okay. And she went to the back room, and to my surprise, after some rummaging, she came out with another box of the 11 centimeter kettle. Brought it out to me, and opened the box, and I guess I should show you what it is I'm talking about. Here is the box, and what makes this different is it isn't a kettle. So if you keep asking for a small kettle to boil water, they're going to keep showing you kettles, like what you see in your kitchen, you know, the kettle. But this is an electric heating cup, not a kettle. In my mind, it's a kettle. I mean, look at it. It's, you know, there you're making tea and coffee and things like that. To me, this is what I was looking for. And I have it right here. I just boiled water, so it's really hot. I have to be careful with it. So there it is. And it's got, you know, a lid on top, aluminum, and then it's open, right? So you can actually boil noodles in there. You can boil eggs in there. You can cook with this thing. And there is my heating cup. And the advantage to this has many advantages. Small. This is the smallest thing you're going to find. It's lightweight, and because it's an electric heating cup, it doesn't draw on a massive amount of power. It uses normal plugs, a very thin cord and a normal plug, and it takes a long time for this thing to get water to a boil. Whereas kettles, like kitchen kettles, they're designed to go fast, like boil water fast, and it draws tons of power, and to do that it needs a grounding pin, needs heavy duty cords, heavy duty plugs. It's much bigger and heavier, and they often have a base, and the kettle comes off the base, and the whole thing ends up being really, really, really big and heavy. And what I wanted was a heating cup, not a kettle. And maybe had I gone into all those stores and said, I'm looking for a heating cup, they would have found it instantly. But I went in there saying, I'm looking for a small, light kettle. And they could only show me 2-liter kettles. I don't even know how much this thing is supposed to hold. I think it's like 0.7 of a liter, like 3/4 of 1 liter, I think. It doesn't actually have a volume listed. But my adventures were not over, because she brought out this box. Also had to be cleaned before I could dare touch it. I mean, the thing looks to be 1,000 years old. I think when I went into that store and asked and actually showed interest in buying one of these things and actually did buy it, I think they had a huge party afterwards, because they probably had this thing on their shelf for 20 years, and that every day they wake up and they're like, today's the day. Oh, today we're finally going to sell that kettle that has been taking up space and getting covered in soot for 20 years. And then finally the day had come, and a customer, not only a customer, but a foreign customer, had come in and wanted to buy it. Hallelujah. They probably had a big party, big dance celebration. But anyway, she got it out of the storage room, opened it up, pulled out the kettle. Here's the lid, here's the bubble wrap, and no cord. So the kettle was in there, but there was no cord. And now we went back to the other situation where I was, again, using Indonesian and Google Translate, all these things, trying to communicate. And I'm telling the girl, okay, I like it, 11 centimeters, how much is it? She told me it was 45,000 rupiah, which is a fine price. And I said, okay, I would like to buy it, but I need the cord. It doesn't do me any good if I can't plug it in. I need the cord to plug it in. I need that as well. Do you have that? And then we were having trouble communicating about that. Again, I thought it would be perfectly obvious from a staff point of view. You pull out the kettle, say, oh, it's missing the cord. Let me go get the cord. But no matter how many times I told her, I'd like to buy it, please, but I can't buy it unless it has a cord. I mean, I'm not buying an ornament to put on this shelf to look good. I need to be able to plug it in, and I'm showing things around me. They're selling all these electronic items, and I'm like, okay, see how this fan needs a cord to plug it in, right? So this, I need the cord. And she said, oh, yeah. So you want to buy it? You want to buy it? Well, yeah, I really want to buy it, but come on, can we get to the point of the cord, right? And I'd have no idea what it is that finally triggered this in her mind, but at some point I got it across to her what I was talking about, and she was like, oh. So then she went to the back room, and I don't know why they do this, but it seems like for all of their electronics, they remove a key component. So you've got the kettle, but if someone steals it, why you would steal this, I don't know. But if you steal it, it doesn't do you any good, because they keep the cord separate. and they have to put the cord back in before they give it to the customer. And she finally went, oh, yeah, that the cord. So she went back to the storeroom, rummaged around in there, and then got the cord. And then from there, though, customer service is pretty good. They do things in places like Indonesia that would never happen in Canada. And I often forget about that because the purchasing process does seem to go on for a inordinately long time, a very long time. And after a while, you're thinking, man, buying this kettle is taking a long time. And but you do get customer service because I'd finally figured out the whole, I want this one, we've got the cord, I'm good to go. I'm trying desperately to give somebody the money so that I can go. I'm done shopping. I want to go back to the hotel. But now what she was doing is running around trying to figure out how to test it. So she had to get an extension cord. She found an extension cord. She plugged it in. I'm like, why? What is going on here? And then she brought the pot, plugged in the cord, and she showed me that the red light turned on, the charging light. And to be honest, that was kind of good to see, because one thing about this type of kettle, because I've had this almost exact same kettle many times in my life. I first discovered them when I was in Myanmar. I bought a kettle that's almost exactly like this one. I was looking for an inexpensive, lightweight way to boil water for coffee, and I found one in Yangon. And I even shot a whole video about it. I did an unboxing of that video, of that kettle, out on this pedestrian bridge. I just stopped in the middle of the pedestrian bridge and set up my GoPro and did an unboxing of the kettle. And I was so amazed at this thing because of the price. Like I said, this one cost 45,000 rupiah, which is less than $3 US. So, I mean, look at that. It's an actual appliance, right? Lid, aluminum case, handle, cord, feet, you know. How in the world can you manufacture something like this, sell it for $3, less than $3, and make any kind of a profit? Well, there's two ways you can make a profit, I guess. One is you make billions of these and you sell them in bulk, because the one I bought in Myanmar, then I bought another one in Sumatra, and I think I bought a third. This one might be my fourth one. They're all identical. They have different names on it. This is Q2, you know, the company, the brand is Q2. The one I got in Myanmar had a different brand. The one I got in Dumai here in Sumatra had a different brand. But in terms of their physical design, the lid, the everything about it, it's the exact same kettle. So there's this company somewhere in China that is making these things by the millions per day, pumping them out, shipping them all over the world, and so many different companies are buying them and then selling them under different brands, you know, different names. That's one reason they can do it. The other reason they can do it so cheaply is that it really is badly made. I mean, it's so badly made. It is so cheap. You know, when they showed me this cord, you know, like how loosely it fits, and then it's got this little red light here, and if you touch that with your finger, it feels like you really don't even want to touch it, because that whole thing is just going to fall off. I mean, everything about this is so cheaply made, and it is extremely dangerous. I mean, no way would this be sold in any country that has safety regulations, because kettles, of course, have to have safety switches. You know, they're not allowed to boil dry. You plug them in, and when the water comes to a boil, has to have an off switch, has to have a grounding wire. You know, they're dangerous things. This thing is like a nuclear bomb waiting to go off. You have to keep an eye on it. You got to monitor it. You plug it in, and then if you let it boil dry, you know, of course, you're going to burn down everything. And it's just so poorly made, it could fall apart at any minute. So that's why it's also $3. So when it makes a lot of sense that this girl would test it in front of me. So anyway, she plugged it in and she showed how the red light came on. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's good. I mean, I was thinking, you don't really need to test it, because in my mind, I was thinking it's a 50-50 shot at best. I'd already concluded that, okay, I'm going to buy this kettle, and if I bring it back to my hotel and I plug it in and it doesn't work, I'm not going to be disappointed. I think I'm expecting it not to work. Like I said, I figure it's a 50-50 shot. It's either going to work or not work because it's so cheaply made. And it's like 50,000 years old too. So I really didn't need it to be tested so thoroughly. I was assuming it wouldn't work anyway. And if it didn't work, I would just go out and buy another one, right? I would just, yeah. I wasn't that worried about it. But anyway, so she plugged it in. Red light came on. Ah, yes, it works. So again, I'm thinking, okay, we're ready to go. Here's my money. But no, she wasn't done yet because she demonstrated that the red light came on, but she hadn't demonstrated that it actually can boil water. So now she unplugged it, and then she went looking for some water, and that took a while. She finally found some water, and she poured the water in the kettle, and now she plugged it in again. The red light came on, and now we're standing there waiting for something to happen. Like we have to see that the water is being heated up, right? And we're both sort of looking, and I'm looking around, and we're waiting. And these kettles, I know from experience, take a long time to bring water to a boil, and that's fine with me. What I do in my room here, I wake up in the morning, I plug in the kettle, I go take a shower, and by the time I've brushed my teeth, taken a shower, and shaved, and gotten dressed, right then, the water has finally come to a boil. It takes a while. So anyway, we're standing there waiting, and then she's looking and looking and looking, and then she starts putting her finger in the water to see whether it's heating up or not. And I guess the water wasn't really hot yet, and she's like, it's not really working. But then she put her finger all the way in so far that it touched the heating element on the bottom. It's sealed, but the bottom of this thing gets really, really hot. And she put her finger in there, and she's like, so she turned to me. Okay, it's working. It's on. So she put her entire body on the line for customer service. She burned her finger to make sure that I got a working kettle. So now she was happy to sell it to me. And then, of course, we had to wait for it to cool down, and then she had to pour out the water and then dry it and put it back in its box with the bubble wrap. And then finally, of course, I was able to pay for it and go on my way. But man, oh man, oh man. Suppose that's another good example of this whole YouTube video thing I was talking about, because for me, this experience, buying this kettle, that is being a foreigner overseas in a nutshell. I mean, that's what life is really like on a day-to-day basis. Just take 10 experiences like this per day, and that's life for a dumb foreigner like me in a country like Indonesia, as I'm just trying to navigate life, just trying to figure out how to get food and water and buy tickets and get from A to B. It's just a constant process where you have to figure these things out. And that's what I find interesting, and that's, to be honest, what I wanted to make YouTube videos about. But yeah, it just takes a whole lot of time and to edit videos, unfortunately. So yeah, maybe you can't really make videos about those experiences. I was shooting a bit of video as I was walking around looking at the kettles, and I thought I recorded this kettle experience because I had a GoPro on a chest harness, and I thought I was recording video. So I thought I could record or include some clips of all these things I'm talking about and then do a voiceover narration, because I wasn't actually, I didn't go in there filming. I wasn't using my GoPro and like filming everybody and talking. I was just recording without audio, basically, on my chest harness. I thought, but then when I left the store, I looked and the GoPro wasn't on. I wasn't really recording anything. So I don't have any video of this whole story that I just told, unfortunately. But I do have the box, and I do have the kettle. I'm very excited about that. Very, very excited about that. And that idea kind of leads into today for me, because I'm still running errands in a way. Like today, I wanted to get a haircut, and I thought, you know, like for YouTubers, getting a haircut overseas is a classic YouTube experience. And there happens to be a really nice barbershop right beside my hotel. And normally I'd like to find more of a very basic place, like a street side barbershop, maybe a mobile barbershop, something visually interesting and kind of unusual. Like rather than going to a normal hairstylist, because that doesn't scream, you know, I'm in Indonesia having an adventure. I can go to a hairstylist in any city in the world and they're all going to look largely the same, right? But at the same time, it's right there. And from what I can tell on Google Maps, this one has a reputation as being one of the best places to get your haircut in Medan. People will drive across the city to go to this place, and it appears to be, even so, quite affordable. So I was thinking, yeah, I could today, my big plan for today, my big ambition for today is just to get a haircut. And then I thought, well, why don't I take video of the experience? And I was thinking, yeah, that'd be kind of fun. I can make a video about getting a haircut in Indonesia. Again, I've done videos like that in the past, but they're always fun to do. But then you have to consider, okay, it's probably going to take you a day or more to edit that video. And then you start thinking, oh, okay, is it worth it? It will take me 1 hour to get a haircut and shoot video of the experience, but then it's going to take me like a 16-hour day before I'm finally editing that video and uploading it to YouTube. And you have to make a judgment call. It's like, okay, if you're going to put in that many hours, an entire day working on that video, is it worth it? I mean, is getting a haircut worth that much effort? It's a tough call, you know, it really is a tough call. But anyway, and same thing for breakfast. I'm probably going to go get something to eat. I'm a little bit late for breakfast though. I discovered that there's a little alleyway, or this alleyway that my hotel is on, it does a little bit of a dog leg, and on the other side of the dog leg, it is just jammed with amazing little restaurants, like normal street level local places where you can get bubur ayam and you know, all the classic Indonesian dishes. I was amazed when I saw it. It was like perfect, you know, kind of makes me want to stay in this hotel for a week just so I can go back to that little alleyway every day and just get food. Looks like such a great place to get something to eat. But again, you know, if I go there to get bubur ayam right now, I said it might be too late, but I can try. You know, I could make a video about going to have breakfast, which is easy to shoot the video, but then what? Do I want to spend an entire day editing a video about having breakfast? You know, you gotta, seems like with YouTube, you have to pick your battles and pick topics that have broad appeal, you know, instead of Planet Doug has breakfast video, Planet Doug buys a kettle video, Planet Doug gets a SIM card video. It should be more like Planet Doug survived 48 hours in the most dangerous crime-infested region of Medan. You know, that would be, oh, you know, at least a video like that title, you know, would get attention online. Whereas, you know, I buy a kettle is not exactly an exciting story. It's like you have to pick something more dramatic, more exciting, more catchy to make a video about, really. Daily life, I guess, is just daily life. I find it endlessly fascinating. But the amount of time that goes into editing video about daily life, it can be too much. Anyway, enough about that. I have to shut down here and, yeah, maybe go out and get some breakfast. I could use something to eat and then think about getting a haircut. Let's see how all this turns out. All right, that's it. Planet Doug behind the scenes, shutting down for another morning, and I'll see you next time.